G'day folks, behind me is the new A90 Supra. This is the first one delivered to a customer in Australia, and the best bit about it is it's mine. Hey folks, today is extremely exciting for me and probably for Scotty.
Just a little bit.
Alright, we're here in one of my Supras. Behind me is the other one. And we're on our way to go pick up the new 2020 A90 Supra. It's the first one registered in Australia. But anyway, we will see you at Taringa Skyfleet Toyota. I'm just going to take you for a little bit of a walk around on this car and tell you what I like and what I dislike about it. I can be critical because obviously I've paid money for it, so I can do whatever I want. I'll be very honest with you. What I do and don't like, I haven't had it very long. I've only had it for 2 days so far. It's being dropped off here for paint protection, so I haven't been able to do too much driving in it because I don't want to end up with stone chips all over it right before I've even had a chance to have fun with it. Now I know the looks of this are a little bit controversial to people. I'm going to disregard the whole BMW versus Toyota thing because at the end of the day, this must be about the first time I've ever heard in history of people complaining about getting a BMW at the price of a Toyota. Let's have a quick look around the outside of it. Okay, you've got your headlights. We've got a 6 LED system. The top ones are your low beam, the bottom ones are high beam. This is your parking light or indicator, so the parking lights turn off when the indicators come on. If you do get one of these, you probably want to make sure that they don't attach your license plate bracket because the factory ones in Australia are issued, they're humongous. They come all the way to about there, and they're designed for the Euro plates. So if anything, request that they do not affix a license plate holder for it. Hopefully there'll be some other options out there. We're going to be developing something for that shortly. You just have to make sure wherever you do mount it, it doesn't cover any of your radars or sensors. So this whole area here is for your cruise control radar, and obviously you've got your parking sensors here as well. So from the front here, you can see this pretty cool little diffuser there with little winglets. We have a number of vents on the car. These are another point of contention with people. They're fake vents, they don't go through to anywhere, but we have it on good authority from the designer himself that they actually go to sections that can be popped out. So if you do take all these fake vents out, they can be made functional. The black A-pillar, that's designed to make it look like the roof is kind of floating there. A little bit of a spaceship sort of design, looks pretty cool. Usually I'll find that I don't like the design of wheels from factory, but this has got some pretty decent rims on it. We've got 19 by 9 on the front, 19 by 10 on the back. They're wrapped in Michelin rubber, so they're pretty sticky. They're Pilot Super Sports. On the front we've got a 255/35/19, and on the back we've got a 275/35/19 as well. Up here at the front we've got a 4-pot colour with 348mm rotors. These are slightly larger on the GTS than on the GT. Now moving to the back of the car, we've also got the same sort of diffuser theme going on here. It would look nice if that was carbon fibre. Supra badge, this used to say Toyota above it, but we popped that off as soon as we got the car. It takes like less than a minute with a fishing line just to remove that, and then you just have to get some gunk remover to take the sticky stuff off. On the back we've got the GR badge, that stands for Gazoo Racing. The exhaust, we've got twin outlets, and inside this right hand side tip you will see it has the valve system that allows it to adjust the exhaust tone. Some more vents here, also fake. Now these are some pretty cool looking taillights. I think they go well with the body. They look really good, especially at night. Around the back here on the diffuser, we've got this little Formula One style fog light and brake light just in the center there. Now the hood on this is huge. So if we pop it, you have to pop it twice. Look at it, it's like a giant clamshell. That has to be the biggest hood I've seen in a car, probably rivals a Dodge Viper. So it's powered by a BMW B58 engine. It's an inline 6 single turbo. The advertiser put out 335 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque. So that's around 250 kilowatts, but we suspect it puts out a bit more than that. So we'll run up on the dyno and see how much power and what boost it actually makes from stock. All right, let's have a look inside. Inside we've got a pair of very comfortable seats. They sit nice and low, but that does make it a little bit difficult to navigate things in front of you due to the length of this nose on the car. You have some beefy bolsters on the side there. They make it so that you're not sliding around inside the car when you're on the racetrack. They are heated seats. Unfortunately, the Australian spec does not get ventilated seats, unlike European seats. That would have been something nice to see. So although they are very good looking, these are actually not a functional harness hole. Seems a little bit silly considering a lot of these people that are buying these cars are probably going to want to take them to the track. So it would have been nice to see that, but they didn't do it. In Australia, we get two different variants of this. We've got the GT and the GTS. There's about $10,000 difference between the two models. The GTS being the top of the line gets things like a heads-up display, slightly larger brakes, an upgraded sound system, and a set of forged 19-inch alloys. If you do buy the GTS, you can get the option of having an Alcantara interior. Now, I optioned for that myself, but I didn't know what that was actually going to entail. Upon receipt of the vehicle, I was a little bit disappointed to learn that the only difference between the Alcantara and the standard interior was this very small section of Alcantara down the center of the seat. Considering that was a $2,000 option when I bought it, which for some reason at the moment on the Toyota website is showing as a $4,500 difference, which is absolutely nuts for this tiny little strip of Alcantara and some two-tone stitching around the edges there. I would have liked to have seen something a little bit more like the JZA80, a bit of a throwback to the old Supra with the cockpit that goes around the driver. It's very driver-centric on the old Supra. You've got some nice carbon fiber trim around here. Obviously you've got the gear shifter, you've got the iDrive controller down here. All of this is out of the BMW parts bin. We've got the screen up here that is touchscreen and can be controlled by this iDrive. And this is a touchpad as well, so you can type addresses on there. Instrument cluster is fairly basic. It's got a great display, but this whole section here is wasted. It doesn't get used for anything aside from telling you if the doors are open or closed. I just think that feels like it's a bit of wasted real estate. It could have been used to at least show you what track was playing or navigation instructions. This is all you get as far as graphs go. It would have been nice to see some temperature graphs. Things like what the GTR R35 and even our Hyundai i30N. One criticism I have of this centralized dashboard here is it's actually very difficult to see when there is any direct sunlight on it. And even adjusting this all the way to full brightness doesn't seem to make it bright enough to actually see what's going on that screen a lot of the time. Now the sound system in it's not too bad, but for the extra money, I would have expected it to sound a bit better. Considering you've got some pretty obvious speakers there, space wasn't an issue, so it would have been nice to sort of pack a little bit more of a punch. I do like to have a good stereo in my car. The steering wheel is kind of big and clunky. Gear shifter, your typical sort of automatic thing, you knock it across for manual mode. You got your paddle shifters there that move with the steering wheel. Back here, you've got a few little hidey holes for storage. You've got this little one here, you've got your cup holders. There's another little sort of section down there. A little bit in the door there and there, just at the base. So a little bit limited on space, and your glove box, of course, quite small also. Phone holder is actually down there, and it is a charger pad as well. I do seem to have trouble with getting it to charge this particular phone. These phone cases sometimes can cause problems with those charge pads. Behind us, we've got a reasonable amount of storage, and we've got the speakers there. Now it does have a reasonably surprising amount of boot space here. It's just a little bit tricky with this small narrow opening. When you go to close the boot, you've got these little grab handles up there, which is a nice touch so you don't have to grab it by the paint. One problem that I have noticed is when you're going around corners, being that there's no separators in the boot there, your objects are sliding left and right. So if you do buy one of these, you're going to probably want to carry around some Oki straps or some sort of cargo net to stop things from flying around. The car does come loaded with a fairly impressive set of safety features. We have collision warning, lane departure warning, steering intervention, and blind spot monitor. It's got a nice high definition reverse camera and a parking assistant over here on the left, which is very handy to negotiate cramped car parks and is very helpful for seeing over that long nose of the car. Now, one of the other cool features is it has a camera in the front of the car that will look at the road signs around you and tell you whether or not you've missed a speed sign. So this little thing here will light up with the current speed limit in the area you're in based on what the last speed sign the car detected. It's something that's quite handy. I've not had that in any of my cars in the past, so I actually really like that feature. The key feels a little bit flimsy. and very plasticky and light. I think they could have done nicer with the key. Now it comes to probably my biggest issue with this car altogether. It looks like the Australian vehicles may have gotten a different exhaust tune. Toyota said that it doesn't have a different exhaust tune, but this car is very quiet. Even in sport mode, with all of the options set to sport, it seems far quieter than what we've heard in the videos that we're seeing coming out of the USA. It's a little bit disappointing because part of the driving experience is the noise that you get, and this car just doesn't have it. It's just not very loud at all. The exhaust sound is very muffled and it's very tiny little bits of burble. I'm not getting any crackling sounds or anything like that. Here we go, we'll put it into sport mode. This is what it sounds like inside the car. So we talked enough about the car, let's get it out on the road and see what it's like to drive, do a 0 to 100 run. Also, let's go past GT Auto Garage and see what sort of power this thing puts out at the wheels. Something that has been a point of contention with a lot of people, myself included, is the gearbox. Now it has a 8-speed ZF automatic. I would have liked to have seen a DCT, but we did ask Tada-san, the chief engineer behind this project, why they didn't include that, and the answer was simple: too heavy and they're generally unreliable. For the sort of power levels that people are going to be putting out, maybe this isn't a bad idea. It is actually quite impressive with the gear shifts. It doesn't really feel like a traditional automatic at all. I think that you'll be pretty impressed. Have a drive of one, it's not a bad thing. Now the brakes feel fantastic at the moment, but we did find on the track that they got a little bit spongy after doing a couple of laps. That said, the brakes still pulled up fine. You just had to apply a fair bit of extra pressure. Steering is fantastic. The suspension in it does soak up all those bumps. Even in sports mode, it does feel a little bit on the softer side, but it doesn't seem to suffer in handling at all. On the road though, I suppose that's what you want. On the track, because you might want to feel a little bit more feedback from the suspension. And behind me, you can hear all the stuff flying around in the boot. That's what I was saying about how it would be handy if there was some sort of cavities or compartments that you could fill so that it didn't fly around left and right.
Not bad for stock, was it? So average 338 horsepower at the wheels, 503 newton meters of torque. That creeps up to 15.
Oh, so that's at 2600, it's already making 90% of its boost.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty responsive.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we can do 0 to 100 in. Put it in sport mode, press traction button once, puts it in launch control. It revs up to 2000 and off you go. Holds at 2000 and let off the brake. Now I know it might sound like I've been going on about all the negatives on this car, but that's just because I haven't had much of a chance to drive it yet. And where this car really excels is going to be on the racetrack. And I don't think there's anything under $100,000 in Australia that would touch it on the track. All in all, this is an absolutely brilliant package. It's a real driver's car. Once it's got some paint protection film on it, You can bet we'll be taking it out there and we'll be doing some more review videos once we've got an idea on how it compares to our other cars. Thanks again to Toyota Australia and Skyfleet Toyota for letting me be the first person in Australia to experience this car as an owner. And if you do want to follow the progress of the car, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, folks, I'm out. See you later. All right, this is the gift box that I got quite excitedly receiving earlier today. This is signed by Tata-san, the creator of the Supra. If we open up the box, it's hard to see it in the daylight, but these headlights actually turn on. These are the LEDs in there. And when you open it up, it's an actual recording of the sound of Supra. And it also includes a pair of driving gloves, key ring, and this book, which I've been told has some scratch and sniff icons in there. So, like there's the history of the Supra. Now I'm not sure if every A80 owner, actually I think they said every A80 owner in the first batch will get one of these, and it's customized to your own VIN and chassis number. It's a little plaque that has your own chassis number in there. But yeah, that's a pretty cool little addition for all the new owners that you get. And if you're lucky, you might get it signed by Tetsuya Tada.